From the frozen tundra of the Great White Snowy North, this is Those Canadian Lads Podcast. Jeff, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Brad. And yourself?
I'm doing good. I told you not to laugh when we were in the green room.
I did you a favor and I looked away, but I didn't think you were going to go with that much gusto, to be honest.
Well, if we want people to listen, we got to have some gusto in our podcast. Welcome, everyone. This is Those Canadian Lads Podcast. I'm Brad. Looking forward to doing this, Jeff. And maybe let's do a little bit of an introduction. Maybe we'll start off with you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Why not? So I'm Jeff, one half of the Canadian Lads, apparently. So
the Canadian Lads.
A new title for everyone involved. But Jeff, from the lovely, wintry, cold Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where we drink away our problems and our fears and hide away for the winter. So, that's about the end of it. Well, obviously, throughout the course of hopefully a few successful podcast episodes and a growing show that people get to know us quite well. So let's go with that. And yourself, Brad, who are you?
Well, I'm Brad. I'm a father. I'm cold as hell right now. I'm sitting in my basement and the heater's not working, so I'm a little cold. It's November in Edmonton in Canada, and it's currently snowy and frozen. And in the other parts of the country, I hear it's like 22 degrees Celsius in Ontario. They're still golfing, and it's bullshit. So, looking at getting our Christmas lights up on the house and hopefully not pulling a Chevy Chase and falling off. So, but yeah, no, I'm Brad, and I'm looking forward to talking about things going on all Canadiana. You know, this is the Canadian Lads Podcast, and we're going to talk about a lot of things Canada and lifestyle podcasts. So, I guess kind of start off, Jeff. Why are we doing this podcast?
Oh yeah, to our historic listeners, who there's apparently 30 of, according to you.
Yeah, we did a podcast before, and we had 30 people listen, so that was exciting.
But with technology, we now have a chance to revitalize that old podcast and get those flames stoked once more. It's a good opportunity to instead of putting thoughts on paper, putting thoughts on the airwaves and getting a chance to kind of capture where we are in regards to what we're doing, our thoughts on what's going on. 2020 has been a miraculous year of miracles and awesomeness. So why wouldn't we take this opportunity to kind of discuss what our thoughts are, what we're doing to get by, and what we're enjoying at the moment. So.
Yeah, no, I think this is an opportunity to kind of record this moment in time and share, I guess, our point of view on life and everything that's going on in Canada these days. Personally, you actually made this point in our last podcast, but recording this for our future families, our future generations to listen back and my dad was an idiot. My dad didn't know what he was talking about. Why is he talking about politics and all this kind of good stuff? But obviously, this is a interesting point in our history, in our country, in the world, really. In the last 100 years, we haven't seen anything go down like this. And we're experiencing new things every day. So that's why I wanted to jump on this podcast and start talking not only to you, Jeff, but bring in some interviews over the next little while and talk to others about their viewpoints on what's going on. And maybe we'll get into a little bit of politics. I know some people on the right of center, and maybe we'll bring somebody on the left of center and maybe get into a good old bum fight here on the podcast and see what happens. But
it'll be a fair and balanced podcast with viewpoints from all different ilks of life.
Yeah. I know we could bring in all types of individuals into this podcast and, talk about some things that are important to us. Speaking of that, maybe some topics that, you think we might be able to talk about in the near future.
Well, I think the most important thing that is going to need to be discussed, considering that there is no hockey, other than NFL, there's no football. I love the NFL; it's good, but we're experiencing a giant rash of UFO sightings on the planet. And I feel the general public is not concerned enough about this. So this will be another opportunity for us to inform the public of what they need to know about the coming UFO invasion.
Yeah,
whenever that is.
we just took our lifestyle podcast into a paranormal UFO podcast in about 5 minutes. But yeah,
It doesn't have to be entirely about that.
We have to
talk about Fresca.
We have to talk about it because it is real, and it is something that you and I are both actually passionate about. And thank you, COVID, for keeping me bored and getting me into the UFO paranormal world, because I'm definitely more interested in those types of things right now. That there is no hockey, and kind of going back into that. It is pretty boring right now without the old Saturday night game.
Oh yeah, no, but I do have to congratulate you. You kind of did the opposite of what everyone else did during COVID. Most of us went back to our habit of drinking and expanding upon it instead of just doing 3 days a week to probably about 9 days a week. And you're smart that way. You kind of steered clear of that a little bit. So you've done well with that. But as a result, you've enriched your mind with this UFO knowledge and anything else that you've been able to pick up along the way. Well, the rest of us have just gotten dumber along the way.
Well, so not only enriching my mind, but starting to track all the Donald Trump conspiracy theories and everything that's rolling out there from the right wing media and the mainstream media. So I'm looking forward to talking about those types of things, because let's face facts. We got to talk about something on this podcast, and those are probably the most interesting things going on. Are you missing hockey?
Oh, absolutely. No, I think finally it hit, like the playoffs were fine. The tournament style was good.
The playoffs are bullshit.
Oh no, I didn't mind them.
It was a scam.
Sorry, it was a scam because the Oilers got crushed by the Blackhawks in 4 short games.
It was 5.
No, I didn't mind it, but I will admit that with the obviously with the snowfall and the sky getting darker at 4:50 in the afternoon, it's like it finally kind of hit home that I'm like, I really don't have anything to watch. And I'm not a movie during the week type of guy. I kind of have to kind of just find something to fill the time before I go to bed, which is probably where that drinking came in during COVID and everything. But no, I'm definitely, it finally hit home that there's nothing on. Like, thank God NFL's on Sundays, but yeah, no, it is boring. And yourself, you missing going to a game?
Oh man, there's nothing better than going to a hockey game. Even junior hockey, even kids hockey, right? Like we're missing out on, the sport that keeps us going during the winter. And, we caught this COVID thing on the back end of the winter season in March and going into April. And now we're starting off the winter months without it. And, on good years, on years that we don't have a global pandemic, it's what gets us Canadians through the winter, really. A lot of us anyway. It's the opportunity to, get behind your team and follow something that you love, and then getting out of the house, right? There's nothing better than going to, here in Edmonton, Rogers Place, and having a beer and having some nachos that you think are disgusting. And
yeah, they are. Yeah. They're terrible.
Plastic cheese is the best.
Plastic cheese, yeah. I still love myself, so I'm not eating that.
Oh, but it's just the experience, right? The getting out there, giving the fist pump to the guy going up the stairs at Rogers Place, the old guy who probably, hopefully the COVID didn't get him, because he was a bit of an older gentleman, and he was a sweetheart, man. He'd give everybody a fist pump. He ain't fist pumping anybody going forward, even if he's still around and he's still working. He might do the elbow bump, but I'm sure he's doing the socially distanced, high five and get up those stairs.
I think I got some bad news for you. I don't think he was there through the last bit of the last season. So no. Hopefully he's enjoying himself on this earthly plane still. But yeah, he'll be duly missed one way or another. But since we are kind of centering around the COVID thing, and dear listener, I promise that not every episode will be depressing and COVID related, but since we are circling it, as it obviously.
No, let's get dark.
Oh, okay,
No,
fine.
just
No, no, it's not dark, but um, obviously, some more recent lockdowns are starting to take place. I have a passion for going to the gym and meeting Lady Iron every morning. That doesn't mean that I'm cut or anything. It just means that I'm round.
you like to
So
lift heavy. You like heavy.
I like to lift heavy. I like to lift heavy. So I do feel that unfortunately we're going to see some businesses close for another lockdown here in Alberta, which is truly depressing. But our fearless leaders will do what they do. So to make sure that my home gym was up and running, I went downstairs and scrubbed cat crap off my cement floor. That's how I spent my day off today. So I felt that was very fitting, and hopefully I don't have to go down and use it, but it's ready to go when I finally do. So
Yeah, that's obviously it's November 11th. Actually, we're recording this today, and the big topic in the news, especially here in Canada, is the rumors of future lockdowns coming based on the COVID numbers going up. It's a bit worrisome. Obviously, nobody wants to see local businesses being shut down. There's a lot of people who are depending on our business right now, and obviously we got to be cognitive of where we're going and how we're distancing ourselves. But the fact of the matter is, is it going to be worse off? Like Jason Kenney, he's our premier, and there's other premiers really worried about not only the health of people but the livelihoods of people, and we're going into a dark winter here, so it's pretty serious.
well, listen, like I'm not going to sit here and lecture anyone on how to spend their money, but from near and dear in my heart, I do think it's important to buy local, support your local restaurants. I'll give a quick shout out. We don't have any sponsors, so nobody's paying for this, but a shout out to Zinn on 104th and just off Jasper Ave. And my lovely wife and I got to go enjoy a nice meal there last week. And they're a truly local restaurant. They all of them they're not some big corporation. They're all just trying to make it by. They have fantastic food and wonderful wine choices. So I said a shout out to them. But it's places like that where I'm like, this is where I feel my dollar needs to be spent so that they survive. So that hopefully I can take other people there and they can enjoy it. And they slide me an extra piece of dessert every once in a while. I want them to be around.
Yeah, it's a great establishment, and that's the thing, right? You drive down Jasper Ave, there's a lot of businesses boarded up, still only takeout only here in town. I talk to people across Canada, similar situations, in Ontario, Saskatchewan. It's getting serious again, and we got to be. I think we know more now than we did before as a people. But we'll see where the winter takes us. It's been a really kind of the fall and summer. I thought we were kind of on the right track from a positivity standpoint, and then the beginning of November started, and one of the things that happened, and especially here in Edmonton, and I think it was felt across the country, was the loss of Joey Moss from the Edmonton Oilers organization. What were your thoughts on that, Jeff?
I think he died.
He definitely did die, and it was sad.
Yeah, I'm not one of those big people that kind of goes, "Oh, 2020, why'd you have to take another soul? Why'd you take Sean Connery or Joey Moss from us?" It's just another day, realistically. But I think one of the things that obviously with that making news, and probably more national news than I would have expected, actually, but it's a good reminder of not just a life well lived. Like obviously everyone talks about like stuff. He's like, oh, he was part of the Oilers dressing room. Obviously, good relationship with Gretzky, local celebrity to a certain extent. but here's a guy who was able to kind of use his notoriety to raise awareness on certain things. He had I'm going to mispronounce it or call it the wrong name, but like the Joey Moss home, where he's helping other people kind of get out there and live a full life, as opposed to just being relegated to the sidelines. Because as I said, just because you're differently able doesn't mean you can't be productive in society and you can't enjoy a great, wonderful life. And he proved that effectively.
I guess for our listeners who don't know, maybe Joey Moss, he had Down syndrome. He was a young man in the early 80s. I think it was 1983 or 84. Wayne Gretzky brought him into the Oilers dressing room, went to Glenn Sather, got him a job, and was there right up till last year, 2020, the 2020 season. I think he was 57 years old when he passed on. So, what I really like about the story is, obviously it's a devastating story to see somebody lose their life, but, not only was he a role model for a lot of people, it was really interesting to see kind of the Oilers organization, which gets a lot of flack sometimes the way they handle things, but
rightfully so.
Yeah, well, in this situation, they did things right. He was, they might be one of the first inclusive organizations, right? And to hear a lot of the Oiler hockey players talk about him and what he meant to them was actually really impressive, because we didn't get all those stories over the last 30 some years.
Well, and I think another thing too, and I'm not gonna necessarily say that Joey Moss helped do this, but he probably did help do this a little bit. But once again, we'll probably misquote the stats, but I think the average age for somebody with Down syndrome to pass away in Canada in 1982 was like 26. The average age now is closer to 67, I believe, give or take, or maybe even 70. Well, that's just because these people were able to get the assistance they needed, instead of just being kind of relegated to piss poor living conditions, for lack of better terminology. Yeah. So it is good that somebody like Joey Moss was in the spotlight. And once again, I'm not one of these people who's going, raising awareness, but he did let everyone know. It's like, hey, this is a normal dude like the rest of us. All he needs to do is go out and live a life. And he was able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, amongst his friends and organizations like the Oilers. And it worked out great. So,
you know what else is messed up? Alex Trebec.
Yeah. Once again,
we're going to talk about dead people the entire
We're just going to talk about dead celebrities, though. We're just going to wrap up in regards to the importance of dead celebrities. Yeah. But Alex Trebec, don't get me wrong, there's lots of cool stories about Alex Trebec. I saw one in the Journal today, or a couple days ago, about how he ate 4 or 5 pot brownies and couldn't leave somebody's house for 3 days. I was like, there you go. That's what you want on your deathbed to come out. But hey, no judgment from me. But the he's like I'm like, he was in Jeopardy. How much reverence am I supposed to have for this guy? He was a genius. He had all the answers on the card.
But you know what? He's a Canadian legend, right?
I know it's cool that he called the Ottawa draft pick this year, but at the same time, I'm kind of like,
but dude, how many people get immortalized by having a character, played by Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live? That's impressive.
Well, that might be the biggest thing for him. Other than Jeopardy was on forever, was that Will Ferrell portrayed him feuding with Sean Connery and Burt Reynolds.
Who Connery again? Another loss in November 2020. So.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna give the guy too much credit. I'm not trying to trash Alex Trebec.
You're trashing Alex Trebec. He's probably going to be put on the $5 bill. They're shortlisting people for the $5 bill right now. They got Terry Fox being shortlisted, and they're gonna put Alex Trebec on him. I guarantee it.
I'm not taking anything. Terry Fox can do whatever he wants. We can put him on there, but. That okay? Once again, this is a Canadian podcast. Isn't that kind of Canadiana? Unfortunately, at its not best, not worst, but we immortalize people who didn't do much, like Terry Fox. He didn't even make it across the country.
Oh, come on!
I'm joking. No. Alex Trebec now is this superstar who hosted a game show, but that's what we do as Canadians almost. We just kind of like
We love to reach. We love to reach and be like,
yeah.
that guy is Canadian. Or that lady, she's Canadian. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She was on Smallville.
Yeah, like you're watching a show. Like I was well, yeah, to prove your point. We've been watching The Americans on FX. Great show. The daughter is Canadian. I'm like, oh my god, she's Canadian. Like, why? Why do I care?
I've watched Cars 3 about 100 times with my kids, and Nathan Fillion is in it.
Oh, yeah,
he plays Mr. Sterling. Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic character. And he is from Edmonton.
Yes, he is.
How, like, and every time a movie pops up with a Canadian actor, he's like, that guy's Canadian.
Yeah. I hope you know he's Canadian.
Did you know that guy is Canadian? He's from Calgary.
Yeah, no, but we do this. We do this reach where it's just like, because somebody is Canadian and they have had some semblance of fame, we're like, oh my god, he's Canadian, or she's Canadian, or it's Canadian.
That's why we're doing Those Canadian Lads podcast.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess we're jumping on that train as well. So.
Hey, if you're Canadian and you want to hear some Canadian lads talk, and Jeff is drinking a fantastic Fresca. I think they have Fresca in the States, right?
Yeah, it's got to be, because it was in The Boys.
That's right.
There's no way that reference is coming out of Canada, because everyone would be like, what the hell's up with Fresca?
Everybody loves a Fresca.
Yeah, the best drinks in my fridge outside of a few choice IPAs are Fresca, caffeine-free Diet Coke, and Sprite Zero. I really like the aspartame.
Oh, man. That sounds delicious. I've been off the diet pop here since September, and I can't wait to slug like 8 in a row and get myself back in the game.
I think we were talking about this another time, but I love the idea that in my mind, and I'm sure other people share this thought as well, but it's like, I'll gladly have 6 beers over the course of a night while doing something fun. But if I reach for a second caffeine-free Diet Coke, I'm like, whoa. You do not care about yourself anymore. You can't do this.
You might as well put a gun in your mouth.
Exactly. It's like, I can't have that Diet Coke. Like, that's dangerous.
Okay, so 2020 November, I was on Twitter the other day, and my heart skipped a beat a little bit because I was looking at the trending section on Twitter, and Gordon Lightfoot's name came up, and I'm like, oh no. And did Gordon Lightfoot die? That guy's a Canadian treasure. No, it's the best tweet I've ever seen for November. I've seen a lot of good tweets, but this one just I laughed for about like a few minutes straight. But it's what, daylight savings in November here. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we gain
Halloween.
Yeah, we gain an hour. But we also lose 10 minutes from the song "The Wreck of the Edmonds Fitzgerald" because it's November 10th and it's a nice 10-minute tune. I giggled, man. That made me laugh. I know I'm a loser for saying that, but man, did that make me chuckle.
Yeah, I think you're doubling down on the Canadiana once more with.
Well, I just can't, follow UFOs all night on Twitter, scrolling through and be, poke the wife and be like, There's another sighting in Florida. Did you know that? They're coming up with sightings every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And they get a lot more of them in warmer weather climates because people are willing to venture out.
Did you know that more people are seeing UFOs during 2020 than any time?
I dropped that on my wife as well, and she was not impressed with me in the least bit.
I tried showing my wife the Pentagon footage from Navy pilots, and she's like, I don't care. So I cannot wait to talk about this on the next podcast that we do because, man, people don't care.
No, people don't care. I'm going to blame the fact that everyone's into their own narcissistic BS and this. If it's not about them on their phones, they don't care. But I did hear a very interesting theory against the Pentagon footage. So
David,
before the next podcast, I will send you that snippet, and then we can discuss it in full.
Ooh, a bit of a teaser for the next episode of Those Canadian Lads podcast.
I read that in a book once. It's important to do teasers.
Oh man, this is going to be a fun journey because we're going to try to obviously put a lot of thought into the conversations that we're going to have. And I'm really looking forward to bringing some people in to chat with us over the next little while. And yeah, I think we're going to have a fun journey here because you and we've known each other for over 20 years or close to 20 years now. And we don't have the same, political views or the same views on the environment and things like that. So,
we'll do some leg wrestling to sort out some of these disagreements along the way. We'll record that for everyone.
I'm not leg wrestling you. I'm a 40-year-old man. I might break something.
I'm not far behind you, so it doesn't matter.
Barely walk at the end of the day chasing kids around. I'm got to take some Tylenol arthritis to loosen things up a little bit.
I will say one of the things, and obviously it's good pod when you talk about things you can see and the listener can't, but I've noticed that I'm moving around an awful lot. You're not moving a great deal. So I don't know if I got to cut down on something before we do these recordings.
I can't move. That's the problem. I'm just like, I got to be stationary during this because I don't know what the heck's going to happen. I might fall off my chair if I'm moving too much. Maybe I should have a few diet Pepsis and get caffeinated before the next one because
get all jacked up,
ready to talk to people about UFOs because that's what the next topic's going to be is UFOs, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh yeah, I'm all over that. Yeah, we'll have plenty of educated opinions and facts to bring your way in regards to UFOs and any other weirdness that seems to be emanating in the universe right now.
Here's the messed up thing. The research already has been done. There's a great documentary that just came out. It's called The Phenomenon.
I haven't seen it yet.
You will see it soon. But no, it's fantastic. There's a lot of great online information. There's some, pretty reputable people talking about them. So, I can't wait for the next podcast. I think we're going to be, talking about this sooner than later and bring our Canadian listeners up to speed on what's shake-a-lakin' in the UFO world because it's been interesting over through 2020 and it's real. And the more people I talk about it and bring it to their attention, they're like, what do you mean? This
I think obviously we're going to be coming it from a pro UFO standpoint. If you haven't figured that out yet, listeners, but
we better find a skeptic for the next podcast.
Well, I'm just gonna bring some instead of just maybe not necessarily UFO stuff. I'm gonna bring some crap that I found that people are like, oh, this was an unsolved mystery. I'm like, no, the guy slept in a dumpster. It's nothing else. So yeah, we'll bring some stuff in regards to it's not just going to be we're crazy and believe everything we've ever seen or read. So,
well, on that being said, I think it's time to wrap up this episode. I think we gave the listener a little bit of a viewing of what we're all about, and like I said, we're going to get into UFOs. We're going to get into sports, specifically hockey, which hopefully comes and starts on January 1st because, man, I am bored. I'm bored, and I don't watch football, so God help me.
Well, soon enough they'll bring us some entertainment, but yeah, no, we'll touch on all things related to to life. We got family, friends, politics, things that arise because of those three things mixing together, specifically the politics. but yeah, no, we'll have an open, nice conversation throughout the week. Hopefully, we'll get some thoughts from other people around us and do some interviews. Maybe even have some listeners weigh in on an occasion, and we'll see what we dig up.
Yeah, so if you've listened in, we'll throw out some social media information on the next podcast. We'll be on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Those are the three ones. Should we do a TikTok? Are we allowed to do a TikTok? Is that banned in Canada?
I'm not the one to ask. You're the early adopter.
That's weird. I'm older too.
Yeah, I know. I'm fearful of technology.
One last throw out. We're utilizing a new podcasting platform called Squadcast, and so far I'm pretty impressed. It's given us the ability to podcast remotely, and it'll give us more access to not only each other but others to bring on the podcast. And lastly, we will be bringing in our wives to critique our first few podcasts after they give it a listen, and I'm really looking forward to that because if you want to hear some skeptics, our wives will provide some great detail to that. So
yeah, I'm not holding my breath on a lot of good joy coming out of listening to that with them. So, but yeah.
All right. Well, that being said, thank you for listening. If you did listen, well, hopefully we get more than 30 listeners this time. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, we'll promote it a little bit more than last time. But thank you again for listening to Those Canadian Lads podcast. It's been a pleasure, Jeff.
Brad, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. And again, thanks for listening and good night.